Welcome to the launch of the Young Humanitarian Circle for Refugees International. Pamela, Sorensen, and I are thrilled to be the co-chairs of this new initiative. We would like to thank Hudson for donating the space, as well as a percentage of the bar tab of all the drinks. So please drink up. We would also like to thank Ashley Spire for helping organize this event. You've done a great job, so thank you. For those of you who have no clue why you're here tonight, the Young Humanitarian Circle is a platform for young professionals to come together to promote awareness and advocacy for the millions of displaced refugees around the world. By attending events like this one, movie screenings, cocktail parties, lecture series, and invite-only events, you will have access to what's going on with the refugee crisis around the world and how you can help. Pamela is an advocate for RI, and she's been working with RI for 4 years and was just in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And she is going to talk to us a little bit about her trip that she took this past May.
Great. Thank you so much to Pamela and Ashley. I think your dedication to art is just great to see. Speak louder. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Refugees International, I thought I would just tell you a couple of things. I think there's 3 things you should know about RI. The first is that we're an advocacy organization. So we don't have any offices overseas. We don't give any kind of assistance. But what we have is a really dedicated team of advocates who travel to some of the most difficult, conflict-affected countries in the world to meet with displaced people, to find out what their situation is, what difficulties they're facing, and how to advocate for more assistance and protection to them. The second thing is that we're independent. So we don't take any U.S. government funding, we don't take any funding from the United Nations. And that means that we can be really flexible in what we focus on and what we say. And we can really be a powerful voice for some of the most vulnerable populations in the world. And the third thing is that we have an impact. We travel to neglected countries that people aren't focusing on, like the Congo, and we bring back really good stories and information that pushes policymakers to affect change, and I think that's a pretty amazing thing. I've been at RI for about 4 years, and I love working there, I think because of our independence, because I have the chance to travel to places and meet with people and hear their stories, and use those to sort of elevate their situation and bring more attention to them. It's really just a great organization. So, as was mentioned, I was last in the Congo in May, and the focus of my trip was on sexual violence, which is a huge issue there that you may have seen somewhat reported in the press, but really not quite enough. And just to give you a bit of background on the Congo, it's a huge country. It's about the size of Western Europe, and it's rich in natural resources and minerals, but it's also been plagued by years and years, almost over 10 years of conflict between various armed groups. And sexual violence is a big part of that. And I could spout all sorts of statistics to you about how many women have been raped, but maybe the most telling thing to say is that I think of the dozens and dozens of women that I've talked to in the Congo, 1 in 2 have told me that they've been raped. And that's information that they offer to me on their own. I usually don't ask. So I'm sure there's many more women's stories that I've never heard. But I thought I would tell you the story of one woman in particular that we met on our last trip. Her name was Marie, and we met her in Goma, which is one of the bigger cities in eastern DRC. And she started an organization to help other women who had been raped. And we went to meet her just to find out about her work. And she ended up telling us her own story, which was that several years ago, a militia group came to her house, and they broke down the door, and they attacked her. And they raped her in front of her husband, in front of her children. They even tried to kill her, but one of them actually intervened and said, no, don't kill this woman. And she said to us, well, it's kind of ironic that the people who attacked me and brutalized me also ended up saving me. But like a lot of the situation for a lot of women in the Congo, her husband ended up leaving her because often the men are traumatized just as much as the women are from these situations. And her children were forced to carry the looted goods from their house, so her children disappeared for quite a while. She tried to get medical assistance, but she couldn't afford to pay for the fees. So she ended up actually getting help from a woman at the United Nations. But when she went back home, she still didn't feel safe. And after a neighbor of hers was also attacked and raped and ended up dying from the incident, she decided to flee, which a lot of women in the Congo are forced to do. So she ended up in Goma, and after she was there for quite a while, she decided to start her own organization to help women like herself. Like she said to us, I was a victim, but I'm not a victim now, and us Congolese women, we have to help each other because we understand each other's situation. And she allowed us to interview 2 women that she had there that she was helping, and they just arrived to her center to get assistance. And one of them had walked for about 2 weeks in the forest after she'd been raped to get to a place where she could get transport to eventually reach Marie, because she didn't have any access to medical assistance where she lived. Her husband had been killed. She'd been forced to leave one of her children behind. So really a very sad story. But she was with Marie, and she was going to get help. Marie was going to take her the next day to a clinic to get assistance. She could also refer her to legal help and other kinds of aid. And so I think while a lot of the stories that we have to tell of the Congo are quite sad and difficult to hear, I think that there's also a lot of hope in women like Marie. There's a lot of positive things that Congolese are doing for themselves, and I think that that's an important message definitely to carry with you. And I think you might be thinking, how can you get engaged? How can you support us and support our work? I think the most important thing, especially with our work on the Congo, is to educate yourselves. It's a very complicated conflict, and I think there's not a lot of information about it in the press and in the media. Team that's heading out to the Congo in a few weeks to look at the peacekeeping mission there. They'll be issuing reports and blog posts from the field, so you can learn more about what we're doing, what we're focusing on. And by helping us and supporting us, we can hopefully help women like Marie and other local groups in the Congo. So thanks so much, and I think I'm passing it back to...
Thank you, Camilla. Wow, that is, it's an honor to be a part of Refugees International. I thank every single person here for being here, and we commend you and all of the other advocates of RI for all the wonderful work that you do and the information that you bring back to us. Just so you all know, if you're interested, and I'm sure you all are, by the way, I just want to say, when we put this together, we thought that we would have like 50 people, and we had 220 people sign up, so thank you all for coming out and wanting to be, to participate in RI from the Young Humanitarian Circle. So if you want to get involved, not only sign up, but there's RI staff and volunteers who have badges on. You're more than welcome to talk with them, and Camilla's right here. I'm sure there's going to be a line formed as soon as we get off the microphone. And also, if you want to contribute and donate, there are great bracelets. If you contribute or donate, $100, you get a really cool bracelet. And if you want to contribute or donate $50, you get a really cool RI hat. So with that said, thanks again, and thanks to Alan and the Hudson staff, and go ahead and drink up.